presentation will introduce my social business idea that I call Dimana. Dimana is an Indonesian word that means where. The initial idea for the business was a service to help buyers in developing countries to find local businesses that can fulfill their needs, such as finding repair shops, tailors, wholesale shops, and so forth. But during my discovery phase, I had several insights that made me pivot the business from this initial idea. Even though the business has been significantly modified, but I thought name still had relevance and still using it. To give context to my business idea, I will introduce Kautsar. Kautsar is the owner of a small used bookstore in Banda Aceh, Indonesia. He started this bookstore about a year ago with his wife Arabiani, who used to manage 2 such stores in Jakarta for her uncle before she got married. The store is doing well, but the couple wished they could have more customers. Currently, the store has over 20,000 books, and to promote the business, they buy ads in the local newspaper and place banners in front of the stores to attract potential customers. But they perceive that these ads are not very effective, and they have noticed that more and more of the new customers were coming from referrals of their current customers who have never seen this ad even in the newspaper. In another word, somehow their business is being self-promoted through the customer social network. And they want more of this, but the problem now is that there is no easy or affordable way for the couple to reach to this social network to promote their business. The fundamental problem that the couple is facing is that current advertising channels like newspaper ads, radio spots, posting banners are not working for them. First, because it is hard to do effectively. In fact, that is why there are even advertising agencies in the first place, to help people to create this kind of ads. Second, because it is also expensive. In the case of this couple, a week worth of newspaper ad would have been better spent to further fill the inventory. And third, because traditional advertising are also spreading too wide of a net, making it not effective for small businesses who have very specific products or services, plus a limited promotional budget. So what is needed is a new advertising channel that is more relevant and tailored to the needs and conditions of small businesses in developing countries. And this is basically what Dimana is. It is a new advertising channel that can be easily used by small businesses in developing countries to self-promote their business by making purchases more visible through their customer social network, be very targeted, also by leveraging their customer social network, and affordable by paying it through an as-you-go scheme. Based on my initial discovery phase, small-scale producers in Indonesia who are already using Facebook, Twitter to promote their business will provide a good initial target for this business. In my discovery process, I went through 3 iterations and pivoted my ideas each time before settling on the current concept. In the first iteration, the target was to verify my initial idea whether local customers in developing countries needed a service to find local businesses. For this, I used interviews from around 10 micro-entrepreneurs and their customers. The result from these interviews was my first pivot, where I changed my customer segment from focusing on the customers into focusing on the sellers, and specifically sellers who are already actively using mobile phones in their business. In the second iteration, I again started verifying this new customer segment to see whether this is the case and how I would service them. Based on several secondary sources and additional interviews with sellers, I again pivoted the concept and further focused the customer segment on just sellers who are using or planning to use online social sites such as Facebook and Twitter to promote their business. And in the third iteration, in my attempt to identify a minimal set of functionalities, I pivoted a third time to further focus the target market and develop my efforts to Indonesian small-scale producers who are already selling online. This pivot was based on looking back on who I interviewed and why, and on my own background and skill set, as well as several secondary sources. Also, during this third iteration, I attempted to measure whether the pain for Indonesian producers were big enough and monetizable. It was done through a smoke test where I placed ads on Google and Facebook that forwarded to a registration page with 2 simple questions to measure the seller's hassle level. The first major lesson I learned is that customers in developing countries do have a problem in finding a local provider of services, but because they already know their area pretty well, so know who are operating there. If not, they can always ask other family members or their neighbors about it. In fact, this is the preferred method because it will reduce the need to experiment with the provider, where they can rely on their neighbors or family previous experience. So I perceive the pain as not being too big. On the other hand, local service providers have real problems in expanding their business and in finding new customers. Because they are micro and small businesses, they have no or limited number of employees, so limited resources for promotional activities. They mostly rely on word of mouth and promotion from current customers to their friends or families, or in another word, customers are self-promoting the business through their social network. In addition, sellers were heavily relying on mobile phone as a mode of communication and promotion. For example, by forwarding contact information on texting and calling about quality orders, etc. Interestingly enough, many of these small businesses have started using Facebook and Twitter to promote their business, but are facing difficulties on how to effectively use this new social medium. And based on my initial calculation from secondary sources, I estimate that Indonesia has around 1 to 2 million active sellers on Facebook. From the smoke test, I found out that the problem I was trying to solve was not only very real, but also a large bit and monetizable, where over 50% who responded to the survey said it was difficult to promote on social network sites. An interesting additional information from the smoke test was that many people were still confused on how to promote or start promoting on social network sites. From this finding, and because Indonesia is considered to be the second largest user of Facebook, I further focused the business on just Indonesian sellers that are operating or planning to operate on Facebook. The envisioned flow of a seller using Dimana would be as follows. A seller would first sign up to the service and automatically given access to their Facebook account to the system. The system will then identify all of the seller's friends and register it in the system. Next, the seller needs to register all of its products or services with its characteristic to the system. The system will then promote the product systematically on the seller's walls and selectively push on walls of their current customers. Customers can make purchases directly on Facebook. They are immediately entered into an ordering processing system that is connected to a simple accounting and inventory system which is part of the system. Status of orders are then communicated on the customer's walls. Moreover, sellers can do all of this process not only on their computers but also through their mobile phones. For the business model, I've identified the customer segment as being small producers in Indonesia who are selling online or planning to sell online. The business value proposition is to be a new advertising channel that socially promote their business on social network sites. Because this business uses currently available cloud services, so making our main activities to be less on maintaining our technical system and more on developing our offerings and developing our customers. Since our customers are small businesses, the decision maker and user of the system will be the business owner themselves. But they will definitely be influenced by other sellers that they know who are in the same line of business as they are. I identified this behavior in my interviews with several sellers on Facebook who keep close contacts with other sellers on who should they trust and not trust online. So getting access into these informal groups and creating a positive image is essential. Currently, my marketing strategy is to identify a community of online sellers for specific products that approach the group and try to get a time to conduct a seminar for the members of the group. In this seminar, I will demo and teach on how to use the system, plus give them a free 2-month trial. Currently, I'm just focusing on Indonesia. Based on secondary data sources, there are approximately 23 million micro and small businesses there, which are currently my current total available market of TAM. While the serviceable market for the current version of the system will be sellers who are already on Facebook, so around 1.1 to 2.2 million users. Then realistically, the obtainable market will be users who are situated in urban areas, which I calculated to be around 90% of the serviceable market, so around 1 to 2 million users. Risk-wise, for adoption, I measure it as being moderate, where sales conversion will be around 2 months, and if introduction of the system can be done in a group setting, this will reduce adoption resistance. For technology, I put it also as being moderate, but it is essential for development to be conducted in Indonesia to be close to the market. Whereas for the system, it can be deployed in one of the available cloud services that will reduce initial investment in hardware, software, and infrastructure. Accessing social sites like Facebook also should not be a problem since all of them have adopted an open API model. Based on these two factors, I perceive the financial risk to be moderately low. Fundings around 75,000 US, I believe, should support the business for the first year. Currently, the team is just me, but I am planning to find a partner that can help me with the non-technical and business aspect of the venture. Thank you.